Hello and welcome back to Practical Knife Reviews. Today for you we have the Rough Ryder 1904 Jigged Brown Bone Doctor's Knife. So what makes this a doctor's knife? Well, there's two main things. One is we have a spatula / tongue depressor, and the other is the bottom here is flat to act as a pill crusher. So those are the two things that make this a doctor's knife. Now there are doctor's knives that are one-bladed doctor's knives, but most of them are two-blade. This one has a clip point blade. The more traditional ones have really narrow spear point blades, but there are plenty of historical examples of clip point blades as well. So let's look at the fit and finish for a second. You can see blade centering is not perfect. They are pretty much against the liners, but not tightly against the liners, but they are against the liners. You can see there's almost no gapping on the back, but if you rub your fingernail across the back springs up here, let's see if I can do that without putting the light out, you can see the springs in the closed position are a little proud, but when open, it is not. So a little bit of a fit and finish issue there when closed, but really not anything spectacular. The handle is brown jigged bone, and you can see it looks very, very nice. It's fitted in well to the handle, no gaps between the bone and the bolsters, which are nickel silver. There's a slight color difference between this side and the other side. This side's marginally darker, but really you can hardly tell the difference. The blade and the spatula are both 440A stainless steel. As we've discussed multiple times in the past, 440A is super easy to sharpen, very, very rust resistant, but doesn't hold an edge as well as some more expensive steels. Both the blade and the spatula have half stops. And you can get it at SMKW for a whopping $12.99. Well, what do you think of this knife before we do some measurements? You've been carrying it for the past few days, let's mention.
It's really lightweight and small, so it's easy to carry in your pocket, not even know it's there. And as a pharmacist, I would rename it the Pharmacist knife because, for two reasons. Give me a pill counting tray with this thing. With that spatula, I can speed count you 100 pills in microseconds.
Oops.
In addition, with the pill crusher, it would give me my other part of the function, which is compounding. In a mortar and pestle, I could use this to hammer it into a powder.
Yeah, and we'll test that in just a second. But before we do that, let's get some measurements. So first we're going to get length measurements. Closed length, we're looking at just a hint over 3.5 inches, probably close to 3 5/8. Open, we're looking at a length of about close to 6 3/4 inches. I'd say 6 3/4 inches. The cutting length of the blade is right at 2.5 inches. The overall blade length's at 3 inches. So you've got this 1/2 inch kick right here, which is nice because you can actually choke up on the blade pretty far. Spatula is the same length as the blade, so there's no sense in measuring that. But let's get a weight. And as Mom was saying, it's a very lightweight knife and very slim in terms of the height I guess I'll take a measurement of the height for you as well. The closed height of this is right about 5/8 of an inch if you measure to the top of the blades. Yeah, I'd say about 5/8 of an inch if you measure right to the top of the blade. So this is really small in the pocket. Now let's get our weight. We are looking at 61 grams, which is 2.2 ounces. So very, very lightweight, very slender, fits in the pocket well. Now, let's see how it does on cutting. Now, I haven't resharpened it since my mom's been carrying it, But when it came out of the box, it was really, really sharp. There was a slight roll on the edge towards the top, but it came out with like just a touch on a stone, and then a little stropping after that. But let's see how it is now. Well, that pretty much says it all. I'm not sure if I caught something there. No, I think that I just turned it a little bit while I was trying to watch the camera. So we can see this knife is really, really sharp. It's also very thin blade, so it's nice and slicey. Let's see how we do on cardboard, because this definitely could be an EDC knife, and it's really, really small in the pocket. So let's see how we're looking here. Got caught up a little bit, but the rest, there's very little resistance. I'm not pushing hardly at all on here. And this is pretty thick corrugated cardboard. So yeah, slicing wise, it's quite nice. Any other thoughts before we go out and do a couple of other tests on it?
No, other than I said, it's so small that carrying it in my jeans all day, I was afraid I would forget they were there and have it go through the wash.
Yeah, what do you think of it aesthetically?
It's really pretty. Colors are definitely suited to my taste.
Yeah. So now we're gonna go take this and do some crushing and spreading of stuff to show you that it's not just a knife, and then we'll take it outside and do some other light EDC tasks with it. So stay tuned, we'll be right back. So we're back, and we're going to do some quick tests with the Rough Ryder. What was the number? 1904, RR1904 brown jigged bone doctor's knife. So, as we said previously, the doctor's knife, the back butt cap is flat, and they have the liner all the way through it. That way you can use it as a pill crusher, which is what they would have originally used it for. And it has a spatula, which could have been used as a pill counter, something for compounding medicines after you crush the pills, a tongue depressor, etc., etc. I mean, there's a bunch of uses for these. But what we're going to do is we're going to crush a pill. This is just aspirin. Then we're going to use the spatula to put some mayonnaise on some toast. And then I'm going to cut up a tomato, because then I can have a BLT. But first we're going to see how this works, the pill crusher, how it works for crushing, because I have yet to see a video on one of these doctor's knives that actually uses the pill crusher. So let's see how it works.
Let me get a better angle.
Oop, I already crushed it.
Oh.
In other words, it works. Okay, now you got a better angle. I'll finish crushing it now. Yeah, so I mean, it's not even that uncomfortable in your hand. I mean, it's a little bit square. You can see how square everything is on here. So it's a little bit square. You feel a little bit of the edges in your hand, but I mean, you got a pretty fine powder there. And then, you know, you could use this to scoop it, weigh it out, compound it, whatever you wanted. But I'll put that to the side for now. Now we're gonna put on, actually I'm gonna cut the tomato first, and then I'll put the mayonnaise on. So we got some tomato already cut up, but we'll get a little bit extra just for the video's sake. And needless to say, as you saw in the previous video, this knife is very sharp and very thin. So I'm getting real nice thin slices of tomato for my sandwich. And that's all you need to see cut for now. We'll just move on, otherwise this video will be very long. Get the tomato off of there. And we'll get some mayonnaise. See how the spatula works. And what do you know? The spatula works as a spatula. Let's see if we can get some more mayonnaise. Oops. I don't know if I want... Well,
Oh, of course you want that much.
we'll see. Yeah, you know, you gotta have a nice wet BLT. Yeah, spatula works just fine as a spatula. So, you can crush your pills, you can make a BLT. What more could you want with a knife? So, yeah, Rough Ryder RR1904 doctor's knife. And we're back with the Rough Ryder brown jigged bone doctor's knife RR1904. You just saw us prepping a BLT with it, so now we'll continue in the theme of food and do peeling an apple, which, as I mention every time, is not something I'm particularly adept at because I literally only ever do it for these videos. But we'll see how it goes. And this is a pretty thin edge, which makes it pretty easy to get under the skin. And it's sharp. I guess it's working about as well as any of the knives that I've used have. Not really any better than I can remember any of the others doing, but yeah, not as bad as a few of them have done. So it's fine as a peeler. Not a great apple peeler, but if you are someone who peels apples and this is the knife you're carrying with you, yeah, you definitely could peel an apple with it. Set that down for now. I'll eat it in a second. Now we're gonna do some feather sticking. Like, let's say that you were out in the woods and you had your lab coat on, which is something I forgot to wear for this video. I was gonna wear a lab coat for it, but that's okay. I got another knife that I can actually do that for. But let's say you're in the woods in your lab coat and you want to make a fire, because that's what normal people do. Let's see how we can do for feather sticking with this. Now this is pine, which is a really, really soft wood. That piece is just kind of in the way now. That's a nice curl. Not quite as easy to feather sticking as I was hoping, if I'm being honest. I don't know whether that's because the blade is really thin or what. Let's try a different angle or a different face of the wood, because sometimes that makes a difference. Just sometimes it's the way that the grain is going in the wood. No, it's not going as great as I would have hoped on the pine. The pine is usually pretty easy to feather stick. I mean, I could feather stick it with my shoe typically, but this isn't going as well as I would hope. This work. Yeah, I would have expected it to go a lot better than that. These ones are okay. You could start a fire if you did it long enough. Let's try one more face for the heck of it, just because I am a bit surprised. It might just be how thin the angle is, or the blade stock. I'm not able to get the right angle, but yeah, not as well as I would have hoped on the pine. Let's see if it fares any better on oak. Don't know why we would expect that, but we're gonna test it. Now this is red oak, which is the hardest wood we've got in our forest here, and it's working significantly better, which is bizarre. It's cutting through it pretty nice. Those are actually like pretty decent feather sticks for oak, especially for a slip joint, which is not. So slip joints you can carve with pretty well. Like, they're good whittling knives, but not something that you would like expect to take out bushcrafting and camping and feather sticking and stuff like that. But those are like pretty nice feathers, which, yeah, that's a bit of a surprise to me, especially considering I was not very pleased with how it worked on the pine. So yeah, I don't know. It works better on the harder wood. Who would have thunk? Well, that's what we have here with the Rough Ryder 1904 brown jig bone doctor's knife. Ma, what do you think about this knife overall?
I really like this knife, and you call it the doctor's knife, but I'm going to call it, my rename of it is the BLT Baconator / Pharmacist knife, and I really like it.
Okay, well, you might get this one. We'll see. So, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time with the next review.